Okay, detectives, let's talk about the ending of Scream 7, because on paper, it's a great ending. Sidney Prescott, final girl royalty, finally gets to stop running and start protecting. Her daughter Tatum gets cornered by a woman who wants to turn her into the next Ghostface legacy, and Tatum says no. She fights. She breaks the script Jessica Bowden spent the whole movie writing for her. It's satisfying. It's earned. Sidney's legacy of survival wins. But here's the thing about Jessica Bowden that I don't think we talked about enough. She wasn't just some random killer cosplaying as a Woodsboro historian. She was running an ideology. Trauma creates strength. That's not a slasher movie line. That's a recruitment pitch. And recruitment pitches don't fail because the pitch is bad. They fail because the timing is wrong. So here's my question. What if the timing was right? What if, in that final confrontation, instead of Mark freeing Tatum a half second before she breaks, Tatum had already said yes? Let's pinpoint the point of divergence, because we are not rewriting this whole movie. We are changing exactly one beat. In the canon ending, Jessica reveals her philosophy to Tatum mid-fight. Mark, wounded but alive, frees Tatum from her restraints, and that small act of rescue is what breaks Jessica's control over the moment. Tatum chooses to fight back as herself, not as Jessica's protege. Our divergence? Mark doesn't make it to her in time. He's taken out of the fight one room earlier. Clean, final, no rescue. Tatum is alone with Jessica for 90 more seconds. And in a Scream movie, 90 seconds alone with a killer who actually understands your trauma better than your own mother does? That's enough time to lose someone. Or in this case, enough time to convert someone. This is the timeline where Tatum says yes. Let's build the case for why this works, because a good what if doesn't just flip a switch, it has to follow the wiring that's already there. First domino. Tatum's entire arc in Scream 7 is built on resentment. She spent her whole life shielded by Sidney, kept in the dark about Woodsboro, about the murders, about why her mother flinches at phone calls from unknown numbers. Canon plays this as overprotection born of love. But flip the lens half a degree and it's also infantilization. Tatum isn't just scared of Ghostface, she's furious that she was never trusted with the truth. Jessica doesn't have to invent that anger, she just has to be the first person to validate it. Second domino. Jessica's whole philosophy, trauma creates strength, is aimed directly at the one wound Sidney could never patch. Sidney's protection was about subtraction. Keep Tatum away from the horror and she stays safe. Jessica offers addition instead. She tells Tatum that the horror is the inheritance, and that running from it is what makes Sidney small, not strong. To a teenager who already feels small in her own mother's shadow, that is a devastatingly attractive reframe. Third domino. Remove Mark from the equation one room early, and there's no outside voice left to anchor Tatum back to her old self. In canon, his small act of freeing her is the thing that breaks Jessica's spell. It's proof that someone chose her without conditions. Take that proof away, and the only voice left in the room is Jessica's. Silence is Jessica's best argument. Fourth domino, and this is the gut punch. Tatum doesn't have to fully believe Jessica is right to still pick up the knife. She just has to be angrier at the idea of going back to being protected than she is afraid of becoming something new. That's not a villain origin. That's a teenager making the worst decision of her life for a reason that makes complete emotional sense. So when Sidney finally reaches that room, expecting to save her daughter, what she finds instead is Tatum standing over Jessica's unconscious or dead body, mask in hand, having finished the job herself. Here's where this timeline goes somewhere the original movie never could, because Scream has always been about legacy, but it's never had the guts to let legacy actually win. Sidney bursts in ready for one more rescue, 28 years of final girl muscle memory fully engaged, and instead she finds her daughter, alive, unharmed, and completely calm. Tatum hands her mother the mask, not as a trophy, but as a statement. I don't need you to save me anymore. That's the line that should end the movie, except it doesn't end anything. It starts something, because here's the alternate climax. Tatum doesn't become a killer in the next 30 seconds. She becomes something far scarier to Sidney specifically. She becomes competent, calm, in control of a situation that 28 years ago would have destroyed her mother. Sidney doesn't get to be relieved. She has to stand in a room and watch her daughter do exactly what Jessica predicted she would, turn trauma into power, on command, without flinching. The film's final stretch becomes a standoff between two philosophies wearing the same family's face. Sidney begging Tatum to put down the mask and come home as her daughter. Tatum, quietly, telling her she can't go back to being someone who needs protecting, that Jessica was wrong about almost everything, but not about that. And the gut punch ending. Sidney doesn't win this one with a knife. She wins it, if she wins it at all, by finally telling Tatum the full, unredacted truth about Woodsboro that she spent the whole movie withholding. Not as a confession, as an apology. The last shot isn't Ghostface unmasked in defeat. It's Tatum, mask in hand, deciding whether to put it down, and the film ending on that choice unmade. No safe resolution, no tidy hug, just two generations of trauma staring at each other across a kitchen table, and a sequel-shaped door left wide open. That ending is bigger than the original. It doesn't just ask, will Ghostface kill again? It asks whether Sidney's entire survival philosophy, keep them safe by keeping them ignorant, was ever going to work on a kid raised in the same bloodline. And it leaves that question hanging specifically because answering it would be a cop-out. So what does this alternate timeline actually prove about Scream 7's real ending? It proves that Tatum fighting back wasn't just a cool third act beat, it was the entire franchise betting against its own thesis. 28 years of Scream movies have told us that trauma can be survived. This what if asks the much scarier question. What if for the next generation, trauma isn't something you survive, it's something you're recruited by? And what if the only thing standing between survivor and successor is just who gets to her first? Sidney spent her whole life making sure Ghostface never won. This timeline asks whether Jessica Bowden could have won anyway, not by killing Sidney's daughter, but by becoming her new favorite teacher. Alright guys, your turn. If you were in that room instead of Mark, do you think love would have been enough to pull Tatum back? Or once Jessica plants that seed, is it already too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. But hey, that's just the theory. A MiniFlicks theory. Thanks for watching.